Morning everybody, welcome. I am at Cruz. This is the last lesson. This is episode 72. Currently called Construction of the Death Star. I don't know if this will be part 1, 2, or 3, or how many this will be, but I'm going to go into detail. I think a previous video, I don't know exactly when I shot that, we talk about basically the triangle and the inflation that's involved to maintain that structure. So what I want to do is basically work the entire process to you guys as far as, okay, how to maintain that triangle, what are things that will help you develop the triangle, why can't you hold the triangle, all the details necessary. So basically the construction of the Death Star so we can shoot it. So if it seems a little choppy, I have notes here and I'm going to try to break this down to you in a way that's easy for you to understand and follow. I was working on this for a while because I was like looking for the explanations and the process as far as how everything goes about and what to look for. So I think I might break it down. So we'll see. We'll go with the flow with how things go. So let's talk about what the construction of the triangle basically involves. The construction of the triangle basically involves 3 sides, right? If you look at the triangle, right? This is a triangle, okay? You have 1 side, 2 sides, and 3 sides. So if you think of it this way, you have the hands forming the left side, the right side of the triangle, and then the body forming the base, okay? We always put priority over targeting, right? We always put priority over targeting. In anything that you do, you wake up in the day, and I'm assuming you have a goal to do, maybe go to work, go to school, get something done, yada, yada. It's not necessary that you have a goal. You might just have to go through the whole day and just swing it on the floor. But ultimately, you have a target if you want to get somewhere. Okay. So with that being said, let's backtrack. Let's go exactly. If we look at the base, we look at the arms forming the 2 sides and the body forming the base. So let's start from there, from the base of the body. Okay. Why this is so significant, what its role is, and how this is constructed and made up of. So if we look at the base of the body, it's based off 2 things. Okay. Maybe I should say based off 2 things. It's based off 1 singular thing broken down in 2 ways. Maybe it is based off 2 things. It is based off 2 things. Sorry, it's a little early. If the base of the body, think of what the function is of this body. The function of the body, okay, that connects to the hands, this functions as a scale, right? So what does that mean, functions as a scale? Like if you look at the scale, and you hold a scale like this, if you put 1 weight on this side, you see the scale balance in this manner. Or if you put a weight on this side, you see the scale balance in this manner. You don't put any weight, the scale is basically here. So the significance of the scale and the support system of the scale, in order for this to function properly and make sure it's balanced properly, is the center area. So that's what the function is. In order for this center area to have the right function overall, basically you're looking at the stance. Okay, so what does the stance involve? The stance basically involves the knees, right, doing its job, making sure and stabilizing that the center of gravity is in the proper area, not too forward, not too back, left, right, and so forth. Now the body's function then is body from the neck to the L4, L5 is basically this tension keeping it straight. So its job is basically, the body's function is got to keep this straight, right? Don't curve in, just constantly maintain this tension of being straight while the lower half of the triangle is constantly working on stabilizing it from you. Without having that, you got to have that exactly in place, or you have to have the control and awareness of that, because without having that, you can't target. So you're asking me, why can't I target on that? Because think of it this way. If I'm standing straight and my goal is to aim to the target like this, okay? Once my center of gravity, let's say, leans forward, right? Or my center of gravity leans forward, I'll be dependent on the other structure. If my target is here, if you can imagine me pointing straight, now my target is no longer pointing straight. On the other hand, if the force comes in and makes me forced to lean back, my target, which should be straight ahead, ends up slightly up. Okay, so at that point, by not having control of the center of gravity, and control of the center of gravity is an automatic response. What I've always said, by having this have its function, the body have its function of the tension, the knees in control of this area, you don't, when the force comes in, you're not fidgeting to make sure you're in place. When the force comes in, the body automatically reacts, the legs automatically react, and your center of gravity basically allows you to make sure that you're constantly targeting your opponent. Okay, so that is a key component. So without this, right, the construction of the triangle involves 3 sides. Without this base support, right, you won't. This is necessary in order for you to be able to target directly to your opponent. Otherwise, I lean forward, my hands will not be able to support themselves, basically going down. Lean back, I'm no longer aiming it. So this helps in being able to make sure you can target your opponent. Okay, so if you're suffering from not having the automatic reaction from that, the fixes are very simple, right? You need to keep in mind itself is what? Stand. You have to practice the stance. You have to know exactly. It sounds so boring and so simple, but you have to practice the stance. Stand, 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 along with the silam tao or punches. These are all simple, basic components that you can practice and be by yourself and make sure that the stance can and is constantly adjusting on its own. Why does it adjust on its own in that manner? Well, your stance in itself, right, is not static, right? When I punch, I'm not just holding my stance in place. When I punch, my body is moving and adjusting. When I punch, my body moves, and when it stops all in its entirety, okay? So you need that synchronization for that to occur. Without that, you won't be able to, when the force comes in, you won't be able to maintain that, and that's obviously a big component of why most people, why a lot of people fail with the triangle. You always look at the source, so you want to look at the source of the stance, right? We learned that on day 1. The simplest is also the most difficult, and you can't have that automatic reaction when the force comes in, then you won't be able to target. And then even if the hands are perfect, if you think the hands are perfect, it's still not completing the full triangle in itself, right? So we want the construction of 3, 2, left side, right side, and the base of the body. All right, so hopefully this is, I guess, part 1, and then we'll work on the addition of this subject.